Antichrist and the false prophet who's going to bring down fire from heaven and deceive them which dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. At the moment, we can only see a digital currency potentially coming in and a great crisis ensuing. But will this great crisis give rise to the Antichrist is, of course, the fear and terror that a lot of people have. And the fear and terror that a lot of people have, a form of an antidote for this will be those that are talking about the pre-trib. In other words, once this starts coming in and rearing its ugly head, the pre-tribulation people, which you can understand and let's say not from a high position feel sorry for, if that's your mind, that it doesn't happen before the Great Tribulation, that indeed the second coming of Jesus does happen after the tribulation of those days. Well, Satan revealed and Jesus, that wicked whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, would put Satan on the world stage first. This is what Paul was warning of. He's warning that there's another one coming in who's going to be the fake Messiah. He's going to come in with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish and those that have rejected Jesus Christ. He's coming to an antichrist world, in other words. If you don't believe in an antichrist, then you should at least believe in an antichrist world. An antichrist world without God has the potential for putting all of these other things before God. Ultimately, we can't help but foresee they're going to set up a new digital currency system. Call it what you will. You can call it the image of the beast system if you like. You can simply call it a computerized digital currency system. Whatever the name for it will be, with a new form of currency in the form of digital currency with a new figurehead on it, which would be kind of the image of the beast system, and the figurehead will now be the very Antichrist himself. He'll be the new figurehead. On the digital currency system, image of the beast system, an untangible money system, who will be the figurehead? The very Antichrist himself. He'll be like the Caesar on the render unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and render unto God the things which are God's. Well, Christians will have to render unto God the things which are God's. And that is when the false prophet gets them that dwell on the earth to make an image unto the beast, and that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship. Now, there's the sticky point for the Christians: worship the image of the beast. Worship the Antichrist. If any man worship the beast and his image, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. Well, that's very stiff punishment. Well, you're looking at a very stiff punishment for the world, because you're looking at the time of God's wrath at the second coming of Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ coming after the tribulation of those days. And it has to be remembered that the Great Tribulation is largely directed against those that trouble you. The Great Tribulation is directed against the warring factions of the kingdom, the king of the north, king of the south, when the trouble kicks off at the time, when they place the abomination of desolation. This is when rather than bring peace to the world, it brings great woe and great trouble to the world. Time will go by, and yet instead of bringing peace, it brings more war. So you have what's called the Great Tribulation, when the king of the north, king of the south, take up arms against each other once again. So rather than bring peace to the world, it brings war to the world. It brings great tribulation and great troubles to the world. And of course, at this time, the saints are going to be caught up in all of this, but not necessarily. The Great Tribulation isn't necessarily directed against the saints. The great troubles in the world is largely directed against those that trouble you. So God's going to trouble those that trouble you. The world will be so engulfed and taken up with these great wars that will break out and ensue, that there'll be less time and effort for them to hunt and hunt down Christians in those days. Hence, you'll have a form of a wilderness that many Christians will flee into. You'll have a form of a wilderness whereby God will give wings to the woman in the book of Revelation chapter 12. The woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished of God for times, and the dividing of time. So nourished for 1,260 days, nourished for 42 months, 3.5 years of great tribulation. Well, this great tribulation kicking off largely for the world, God troubling them that trouble you, and the Christians being given miraculous wings, 2 wings of a great eagle. So Jesus said, take no thought for the morrow should take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. So should, if a digital currency comes in, you don't see the false prophet and the Antichrist, then you kind of breathe a sigh of relief that it isn't quite that yet. But of course, this is the sequel of events you should be looking to. A digital currency coming in doesn't necessarily follow that you'll see the false prophet and Antichrist coming in. It could very well not. So just because they're bringing in a digital currency system doesn't follow that the false prophet and Antichrist will be imminently coming in at the same time. But on the other hand, it could very well follow this course of events, a great economic crash and crisis, bringing in the need and potential for a new economic system, and then the Antichrist revealed and the false prophet standing up in the midst of all of this and pointing to the Antichrist as the new saviour of the world, bringing down fire from heaven, deceiving them which dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, and causing them to make an image unto the beast. Well, God forbid, really, that this should happen just yet, and God forbid that so many saints are falling away. And sad to say, one of the great falling away doctrines that are now picking up pace, many flocking to, in great numbers really, flocking to the antidote, let's say, and I'm not saying this in a condemning way, because people naturally seek safety in numbers. It's a natural instinct and impulse in people to seek safety in numbers. So the numbers are spiralling and mounting up to those that are looking at the what's going on in the world and with a form of terror struck into their hearts. And if they're Christians, then they have some understanding of the verses that would say, if you don't take the mark of the beast, then you'll be killed. So, of course, then you have the antidote, let's say, of the pre-trib, that God's going to somehow or other miraculously have some kind of, as I understand by what they're saying, some kind of sneaky second coming whereby you won't see Jesus coming in the clouds of heaven with great glory. You won't look up and as the lightning coming from the east to the west. That's what you should be expecting at the second coming of Jesus Christ. That'd be something you can't miss. If there's a great thunderstorm and the lightning streaking from the east to the west, you can't miss it. So when Jesus comes back, we won't miss it. It'd be as if there's a lightning storm, Jesus coming back in the clouds of heaven with great glory, sending forth his angels to the four winds and from one end of the earth to the other, gathering together his elect from the four winds. His elect meaning those that are actually Christian. So those that have Jesus has chosen, you have not chosen me, Jesus said, but I've chosen you. So if you're one of the elect, you're simply one of the Christians in those days, caught up in all of this, persecuted, yes, but the great tribulation directed against those that are troubling you.